Yeah, so obviously with the client thing that we did, would that be the similar sort of thing you do, but like with department sort of thing? So for instance, like we've got like buying
Yeah.
department, estimating department. Would you go like so? What is the
Yes.
not
Good
client, but
question.
like the main,
Yep.
and then sort of systemize it for that sort of thing? Does that work?
So the way that we do it with departments, it is a little bit different. So we think about each department and we just use, we look at what are triggered tasks, what are tasks that happen daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually. So we use that frame and then we just brainstorm with the department head and we say, if we had to apply the 80/20 to the HR department, what are the most critical systems, and using those prompters to help our brain think, oh, what do we do every 2 weeks? What do we do that's a triggered task? A triggered task might be something like recruitment. Well, we only do that when it needs to be done. But maybe something like annual performance, well, maybe that needs to be done annually. Or again, you go through that exercise and you think through with your department head, what are the mission critical systems that they see in the department?
Okay.
And that's typically, you just want to limit yourself at the start because it's really easy for this to blow out. And you actually work in sprints. So the first sprint is the critical client flow. And then you might do second sprints. Usually, again, if you've got a systems champion, a sprint might be, anywhere from sort of 10 to 20 systems. And you want to do it in chunks. You don't want to overcommit too much. Otherwise, you just kind of freeze deer in headlights. But that's a bit of the process.
Yeah, I think what I've done is because obviously I sort of started the journey quite a while ago. Um, did a customer journey, sort of explained all that through. And then what I've done is I've then basically got all the departments and then we sort of split them into weekly, monthly, all that sort of stuff. But we seem to have like lots coming up. And there's lots of areas to sort of pick up and try and pick one up. I think we've just gone maybe a bit too much into the detail of some of them to try and capture it all, if you know what I mean. I think we've just gone a bit crazy in some
Yeah.
areas and other areas where we've sort of not really gone quite so far. So
Yeah. Look, without getting into the specifics of exactly what's going on, broad brushstrokes from what you've said, um, just remember that things are going to get done regardless of whether or not it's documented, because it's kind of already happening. Just because you don't document it doesn't mean it's going to magically stop happening, and it doesn't need to all be documented at once either. So you're really focusing in on the biggest leverage points to get those dialed in. And you might put, like, I love Gino Wickman's, I might have it around here, Gino Wickman's traction. He talks about this thing, he calls it an issues list. And basically, when issues pop up in your business throughout the course of the month, you note them on an issues list. And then monthly, you'll have a discussion about that issues list. And you're looking for recurring things. And then you think in your head, how can this be solved at the system level? And you might go, a good example, I remember I was working with a company that cleans roofing gutters. And the business owner said, every time that the truck comes back, it's out of fuel, they've used up all their equipment, it's dirty, and it's a pain in the bum in the morning when everybody comes back and they want to start work because the trucks aren't ready to go. So, and that was a recurring problem for him. Normally, he would just go yell at the staff. And he's like, you can't do that. We've got to have this ready to go so everybody can be fit and ready tomorrow. So you better make sure that you get it right or there's going to be hell to pay. Like, that would be his normal way of doing it. But then once he kind of got the systems mindset, and we talked about systemology, he thought, how could I solve this at the system level? And he created a checklist that was stuck on the cork board where the keys are hung at the end of the day, and you're not allowed to put the keys back on the cork board until you've gone through the checklist, or to refill the truck, to make sure the equipment's there, to make sure it's clean. So that way it's all ready for tomorrow. So it starts off with, it sounds like you've got a good set of systems. The next thing that you need to start thinking about is you get some metrics in place, you listen to your business, you get things like that, that issues list together, and then you build a culture of how do we solve this at the system level.
yeah. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. That's good. Good question. Good insight.
Sander, you've got a question? Thank you for that.
Hi, David. Thank you so much. That was excellent.
Thanks,
I was going to ask, because you mentioned it a few times, you mentioned kind of this, you see it happen all the time. Someone's reads your book, gets excited for 3 months and then stops. And then you mentioned it a bit later. And obviously what we do at Business Coach Academy is trying to have the coaches help in this regard. But what do you see as the most important, like, part of a coach when working with a client on this stuff, or the things that you see that actually get past that 3 months? Because we're passionate about trying to get people to use, you know, the great content like that you've put out in the world, that other authors have spent all this time. But like you say, it does happen consistently, that no matter how well you've created the book about it, people just don't do it on their own. Is there anything that you've noticed that can really try and help speed that up or make that work better for people, either with or without a coach? I'm guessing.
There's 2 parts. So the first one I would say is when it comes to systems, because I'm, like, I see everything through the systems lens, the biggest leverage point is the systems champion.
Okay.
Because if you get a coach or a consultant on the outside, that's great to, you know, set the gold standard, get it moving. But we know business owners are busy. They're doing the day-to-day. You've got to get the momentum, and it's about building up evidence in the organization that you are a systems-driven company. So, and you need someone to drive that. So that's actually the topic of my next book that I'm working on at the moment, Systems Champion, because I believe that's probably the single biggest leverage point when it comes to systems. All of the great companies I've worked with that have made this work have got a systems champion. They still have a coach and a consultant that keeps them accountable and shows them what to do and guides them and, you know, sets the gold standard. But then when the coach or the consultant leaves, the asset still, the team member remains in the organization and they're doing it, and then they build up that capability internally. So that's one big thing. And then probably the second piece, if I was going to suggest something, it's, you know, I'm obviously a little bit biased, like it's joining a group program or something like that. We have a group program, something that just causes it to be effectively an agenda item, you know, every week or two. It just needs to constantly be under the nose until you do it enough that it becomes a habit. And then you build evidence. I mean, a lot of what we talk about, and another great book many of you have probably read is James Clear's Atomic Habits. And we're just talking about changing habits. Systems and processes are kind of like the first step to changing a habit. It's a documented habit. You're saying, here's how the thing needs to be done. So you can actually get quite a lot of insights on how to make things stick by that book by James Clear.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, good. All right.
Yeah, sorry. Daniel was asking if you have a link to the PDF. Also, there's a really good YouTube video of you talking about the critical client flow thing as well. So if people want to watch that video again, I'll get the recording for this, but also on YouTube.
Yeah, we post a truckload of stuff on YouTube. So that's the link just there. In a second, I'll just grab this link for you. I'll grab you the link to the critical client flow. It's a Google Doc. It's either that or it's in the book. But you can duplicate the Google Doc. You won't be able to edit it, but you can make a copy of it. So I'll just grab that link here and I'll post that in for you. That's the link to that. Or just go to systemology.com/resources, and there's a whole bunch of links and things in there. That's the one that I talk about in the book. Like I say, here's a bunch of resources. I'll just post that in the link just there.
Thank you.
But look, main thing, I hope for me, the big thing about these calls, you're not going to get everything on this one talk. All I really wanted to do was just to inspire you to give systems a second look. If you've tried it in the past and it didn't quite work, don't give up on it, because it is the master skill. You have to figure this out. And I just want to kind of light that fire in you. And even if you don't think you're a systems person, I'm not even a systems person. I don't like documentation. Like, that's the dirty little secret of systemology. I don't like documentation, but I fell in love as the business owner with what the systems bring. So I've identified our systems champion. We've gone to work on that. And I now realize the importance, and my job as the leader for our organization is to showcase to the team that systems and processes are important, and it's got my backing. That's my job as a leader.